CBS Sports HQ is live. I'm Chris Hassel. Good to have you with us today as we get set to kick off Week 2 in the NFL tonight. And we have perhaps the best Thursday night football matchup of the season. It's the 1-0 Commanders, the 1-0 Packers, two of the favorites in the NFC. Both opponents were blown out against these two teams in Week 1. Packers took care of the Lions. Commanders did the same with the Giants. And it's a great quarterback matchup, two of the best young quarterbacks in the league. Right now, 59% of the money is going on Washington +3. But Matt LaFleur is really good at covering spreads in primetime games. He's 21-11-1 in his career covering the spread in prime time. We got the two-time Super Bowl champ Logan Ryan joining us now. Logan, what are the chances that we might be seeing a really early preview of the NFC Championship game?
Man, first of all, we got to give a round of applause to the schedule makers this year. I mean, these games have been electric. Obviously, Green Bay had an electric one last week, and now they have another one at home. First Thursday night, Thursday night football of the year, and you get this type of matchup. I'm hyped for it. This is going to be a thriller. This is honestly going to be a thriller. You mentioned it, Chris. This could be some NFC Championship contenders here. They're definitely two of the teams in the top 5 in the NFC. In my opinion, the NFC is absolutely loaded this year. Green Bay reinvigorated with Micah Parsons. Obviously a huge boost. And then playing at home in Lambeau. Washington with Jaden Daniels. There's no sophomore slump. This kid is legit. This kid's absolutely legit. I've seen everything I need to see being around a year, being in the league for 11 years, and know this kid can play. And it's not an up and down thing. He's pretty consistent. But the Packers being at home, and mind you, these guys only have 4 or 5 days rest, 4 days rest playing on a Thursday, right? When you haven't played much of a full game in a preseason, you're sore after Week 1 because it's the first time you're banging bodies and tackling. So the Commanders got to travel on a short week. I think that's going to have a factor that we got to think about.
We'll be interested to see how much more Micah Parsons plays and how much he chases around Jaden Daniels. Played him twice last season, obviously, in that division with the Cowboys. He sacked Daniels 4.5 times. How was he able to do that, and how could that translate tonight on a different team?
I mean, did you see his sack last week like a lion chasing a gazelle? His closing speed is ridiculous. You know, he's as fast as some defensive backs in a sprint. He has tremendous closing speed. That is natural ability. And I see the pressures. I see the sacks. I see the impact. I also see that the Commanders were 2-0 against the Cowboys last year in those games as well. So what's more important, the sacks or the wins? I mean, Jaden Daniels and this team has played against Micah Parsons. He was in a division last year. They're familiar with him. They will have blocking schemes for him. He is a game wrecker. Now, Micah Parsons is going to have his, but trust me that the Commanders know who he is. Their meetings are centered around him. And that is the impact of having a Micah Parsons on your team. He's a complete game wrecker that the other team has to take in for account.
Going to try to force Jaden Daniels into some mistakes, though. He had fewer picks than Jordan Love last season, but all 11 of Jordan Love's interceptions were thrown pretty much in the first half of the season. Hasn't thrown one since. How has Love been able to clean things up and go 8 starts without throwing a pick?
Well, one, he's got healthier, right? Last year, he was banged up from the start of the season. He was dealing with injuries. So I feel like him getting healthier was a huge part of that. Also, I think as a quarterback, he understands what he has around him. He has a good running game. He has a good tight end. He has a plethora of wide receivers that are another year in the system. They were all young wide receivers, but now they're another year in LaFleur's system. He has a defense now. Jeff Hafley is a defensive guru. I love Jeff Hafley. I will say it this time. I'll say it every time. That man's going to be a head coach in the next 2 to 3 years. You can document me on that one. And then obviously with Micah Parsons. So he can play within his system. Jordan Love does not have to put the team on my back, carry the weight the whole time. He understands if he takes care of the ball. Look at those numbers. Very solid, very modest. 188 yards, right? 8.5 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. If he plays like that, based on the defense that they have this year, they're not going to get beat very often. Green Bay goes how Jordan Love takes care of the football, and that's what he did last week.
And Love leading the youngest team in the NFL. The Packers are the youngest for a 3rd straight year. The Commanders, despite also having a young quarterback, They are the oldest team in the league. So let's do a little take your pick here. How about 29-year-old Deebo Samuel or 25-year-old Jaden Reed?
Man, that's a real tough one right there. I do believe that I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel just because of his impact to run after the catch. And Green Bay has many memories of Deebo Samuel and San Fran closing out NFC Championship games, running all over them. So I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel here. He's going to need to have a big day. The Packers play a lot of zone defense, right? Jaden Daniels thrives against man-to-man, but Deebo can sit down in those zones. Deebo can take those quick screens and take them 60. I've seen him do this to the Packers time and time again. I love Jaden Reed, but I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel.
Let's stick with pass catchers and just move to the tight end position. Zach Ertz, now in his mid-30s. He's 34 years old. Tucker Kraft just starting his career at 24. Which one has the bigger impact on this game?
I have a lot of respect for Ertz. Same draft class. He's still playing. Hats off to him. I'm on TV now. But I'm going to have to go with Tucker Kraft on this. I really think he is a secret weapon for the Green Bay Packers. We know the pass catchers, and we know that they can run the ball, and they want to run the ball because they want Jordan Love to play within the system. But I think Tucker Kraft can sneak out on a couple times. I think the boots, the nakeds, the play-action game, I think he can do a great job. In the run game, right, I think he has the edge on Ertz in the blocking game, but I also think he can get his in the pass game. So I think Tucker Kraft's going to have the bigger night. That's
a 10-year gap there. We're going to go even wider with this next one at linebacker. Bobby Wagner, you know him well. You faced off against him in the Super Bowl, 11 years ago now. He's 35. Edgerrin Cooper is 23, and by the sounds of it, his teammate has his back. Listen to Micah Parsons talking about his fantasy team, which includes defensive players.
Listen, it's crazy because, fantasy football lineup, I just stayed mostly offense, and then, it came down to my defense, and they saw me pick up Coop, and they was like, "Oh, what you know?" I was like, "Yeah, just be," because I'm watching practice and I'm seeing everything that we got dialed in, and what we're putting in, and so I start him, and he goes off, gets me 36 points, and it's like, "Oh, so you knew?" So I was like, "Listen, we can't do that." Like, obviously I'm just, I just had a feeling, but. Just know he's part of my starting lineup, and I expect that type of tenacity, that effort every game.
Yeah, Cooper, 8 solo tackles in week 1. Bobby Wagner, though, a 6-time first-team All-Pro. How do you kind of separate those two, one at the beginning, one at the end of their career?
Man, you really can't. Bobby Wagner is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best backers of my generation, of this last decade plus. He does it so consistently. But I'm going to go with Edgerrin Cooper because of the home field advantage, because of how Lambeau's going to be, how loud they're going to be on defense, the Micah Parsons effect. I talked about the game wrecker ability he is. You got to slide 2 blockers. You got to slide your line to Micah Parsons. I think it's going to free up Edgerrin Cooper a little more to have the bigger day. Not just because he's a better backer than Bobby Wagner or anything like that, but I think schematically his job's a little easier now that he has a Micah Parsons on his side.
All right, let's get a pick for the game in totality. Packers hosting the Commanders. You can get this 3.5. I mentioned how Matt LaFleur is really good in primetime games, not only straight up, but against the spread. How do you see this game unfolding? Who do you got?
I'm not a big spread guy. I was not allowed to bet in my playing days, so I don't get too big into that. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be a thriller. I think both quarterbacks play well. Both defenses step up. I really feel like this is going to be a tight one. I'm going to edge it out and go with the Green Bay Packers because of the home field advantage. The short week as a player playing on Thursdays is hard. These guys just played a game. Their body's a little more sore now that they're building that callus. The fact that the Commanders have to travel, play on a short week, and how loud Green Bay was last weekend, if they can continue that is a tough place to steal a road victory. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers on closing it out tonight. Big day from Jordan Love and the crew.
And what a start to a season that would be if the Packers follow that win over the Lions with a win over the Commanders, who were in the NFC Championship game last year. What does that do for a team to beat 2 teams like that in the first 2 weeks?
It's major. It's huge momentum. I believe the Micah Parsons trade was to take their shot. I know they're the youngest roster, and that's great and all that. But you still got to try to win your Super Bowls. And I think he's a step to that. I think the moment they acquired him, they believe that they are up there with the Philadelphia Eagles to represent the NFC. I've seen acquisitions. I've seen what players of this impact can do to a locker room. And I believe that the Packers believe and the fan base believes. So if they go 2-0, knocking off 2 contenders early in the season, yes, it's a long year, but they'll be rolling, feeling pretty good. And momentum is real in the NFL. So I think the Packers' move was to go win Super Bowls now in this window and not always just for the future. For the future, I think it makes it real for them. And I think Micah Parsons signifies that. And I think they've showed that with the effort and energy they played last week and going to try to continue that tonight.
And if they do, get a nice 10 days off at 2-0 before heading to Cleveland to face the Browns. Logan, we're not giving you any time off. I know you're calling a game this weekend before you fly out. We're going to bring you back a little bit later to discuss another matchup between 1-0 teams. There are 4 of them this week. Jags-Bengals is on CBS at 1 Eastern time. Broncos-Colts on CBS at 4:05 Eastern. And on Monday Night Football in the nightcap, it's the Chargers and the Raiders. There you see our slate on CBS and Paramount Plus. Early slate, Bills at the Jets. See what Justin Fields does against that Bills defense. He looked good against the Steelers in a losing effort. And then in that 4:05 window, it's Broncos and Colts from Indy.